Several years since the incident at Golgan, Yuri Boyka is now a free man and has a new manager named Kirill. At this time Boyka lives in Kiev, Ukraine and is an undefeated underground fighter. Boyka then took part in a fight held by Kirill. And of course the winner is Boyka. The scene then switches to the Russian Federation prison where Boyka used to live, where the prison has a very strong new fighter named Kashmir. His large body meant that this Kashmir had to be chained and tied around his neck with an iron. Kashmir was then put into the ring to fight one of the fighter prisoners, who was deliberately sent by the head warden Markov. In that match Kashmir was beaten by his opponent, but he was okay and counterattacked his opponent so brutally that his opponent died on the spot. The scene then returns to Boyka, who is now a famous contributor to the church. Boyka was then approached by a priest who told him that Boyka's profession was not liked by his God because of violence. But Boyka responded by saying that God had given him the skills to become the most complete fighter in the world. Even though the priest's words made Boyka a little hurt, Boyka remained enthusiastic to continue fighting in the ring. Because he wants to become an official MMA fighter while waiting for the opportunity to participate in his official match.
Even if you do have rules,
and I think it would be a sin to waste it.
As a way of consuming men, what good you can do?
Long story short, when Boyka was training, he was approached by Kirill, who managed to find a valid opponent, which can give the winning fighter the opportunity to enter the official MMA fighters in Budapest. Hearing this, Boyka immediately agreed. Match night has arrived. The Boyka opponent that Kirill was referring to turned out to be a veteran Russian fighter named Viktor, who had the intention of entering the world of MMA. Before the fight begins, Kirill warns Boyka about Viktor's abilities, which cannot be underestimated. But Boyka remains confident because every fighter has the same desire, namely to win.
We've been over the rules.
Their fight took place.
Stay the f*** down.
Viktor was successfully beaten until he fell unconscious by Boyka. In this way, Boyka was officially declared qualified for the qualification for the fight in Budapest. When he wanted to go home, Boyka saw Viktor's very critical condition. He did not expect that the result of his blow would have such a fatal impact on Viktor. And that night Boyka woke up dreaming of his fight with Viktor. He was overshadowed by the priest's words. The next day he went to his office to ask about Viktor's condition. And then Kirill told him that apparently Viktor had died due to a brain injury. Boyka, who felt very guilty, then asked for a fake passport and information about Viktor's family in Russia. He has one wife who is now officially a widow. Viktor's wife's name is Alma. Boyka decided to go apologize directly to Alma. In Russia, Alma is holding her husband's funeral. A mafia ruler of the city comes to attend Viktor's funeral. His name was Zaurab. It turns out that Zaurab's purpose in coming was not to mourn with Alma, but to collect Viktor's debt. Alma, who doesn't have the money to pay her debt to Zaurab, has no other choice but to comply with Zaurab's request, who tells Alma to work for him. Return to Boyka, who was already in Russia with some of the money he had prepared. He was able to rent an apartment in Russia. After that, Boyka went to where Alma lived, which turned out to be a karate gym specifically for children. When Boyka saw Alma, suddenly a car came, where the scary men come out and take Alma into their car. One of Zaurab's men then asked Boyka's purpose in coming here, to which Boyka then answered that he wanted to talk to Alma. However, the subordinate warned Boyka not to bother him because Alma now works at his boss's club.
Where?
Boyka then follows Alma to Zaurab's club, where the club holds free fights for gambling. And the best fighter in the club is Igor. Boyka finally finds Alma, who is working as a waitress. When Boyka was about to talk to Alma, he was suddenly detained by Zaurab's subordinate, Slava. They then kicked Boyka out of the club, which made Boyka angry and immediately beat Slava and his friends. Seeing Boyka's greatness, Zaurab approached Boyka and warned Boyka not to disturb Alma. If Boyka still bothers Alma, Zaurab won't hesitate to kill Boyka.
Try to talk to her one more time.
The next day, Boyka deliberately came to Alma's place and hit one of Zaurab's men who was on guard. After meeting Alma, Boyka told Alma that he knew Victor. Alma then revealed that Victor's reason for taking part in the match in Kiev, Ukraine, was to get into MMA and get money from there to pay his debt to Zaurab. But instead of getting money, Victor actually suffered an accident while fighting. Here at first Boyka was unable to tell the truth. But Boyka finally said that he was the opponent when he fought against Victor.
It was me to come here and tell you that.
Bring him back.
Boyka then gave Alma the money he earned from his fight. But Alma refused and was furious because Boyka had killed her husband during the fight. Realizing that Alma has a debt to Zaurab, Boyka goes to Zaurab's club and offered Zaurab a deal where Boyka would become Zaurab's fighter in order to make money. And in return, Zaurab had to let Alma go. Zaurab also agreed. But Boyka had to fight his best fighter after participating in 2 matches.
Let's start tomorrow. Just in a hurry.
The next day, Boyka started training at the public training ground. It turned out that one of the fighters was not happy to see Boyka's presence, who was taking his punching bag. He also reprimanded Boyka by saying that no one wanted Boyka here. Boyka decided to leave straight away because he didn't want to make a fuss.
I won't be long.
The day of the first fight arrived. And it's true that no one can match Boyka, the most complete fighter. But because he didn't want to repeat an incident like Victor, Boyka tried not to be too brutal. After the fight, one of the arrogant fighters named Igor tried to provoke Boyka by saying that Boyka set foot in his arena. Alma delivers drinks to Boyka. At that time, Boyka asked whether Alma had a training place that he could use or not. Alma then told him about the training place used by Victor. The next day, Boyka came back to Alma's place to practice. Alma, who heard the sound of Boyka's training, felt that she really missed Victor.
I'm used to it.
Ladies and gentlemen,
The next match begins. This time Boyka didn't just fight one person, but for two people at once. At first Boyka felt very difficult. But because he managed to control the tempo of his two opponents, he was finally able to win, even though he had to suffer a broken spine. Seeing Boyka's ferocity, Zaurab warned his fighter, Igor, to be careful when fighting Boyka later. The next day Zaurab deliberately calls the police chief, where he bribes the policeman to bring Kashmir to his club. It turns out that Zaurab's best fighter is Kashmir, who is now in a Russian Federation prison.
You're not gonna just make more money.
Meanwhile, Boyka, who was practicing, was approached by Alma, who gave Boyka crushed medicine. The medicine is to minimize Boyka's body pain after being kicked last night. The next day, Alma was washing the dishes. Suddenly Zaurab approached her, who warned Alma not to help Boyka. If Alma helps Boyka, Boyka will be killed. On the other hand, Boyka, who was running in the afternoon, was called by Kirill, who told him that his ticket to Budapest would arrive at 10 p.m. Kirill then asked Boyka to go to the airport before 10 o'clock arrived.
Rina is already crawling with fans waiting.
Don't worry, I'll be there.
After being told by Kirill, Boyka then returned to the hotel, where there was Alma, who deliberately came to Boyka's hotel to ask how Boyka had harmed Victor. Boyka felt guilty and revealed that he had tried to ask Victor to give up. But Victor refused, which made Boyka angry and threw a hard attack at Victor's head. Hearing Boyka's statement, Alma didn't expect it. She immediately left Boyka's room.
ladies and gentlemen.
The night of the final match has arrived. In this match, Boyka fought Zaurab's fighter, Igor, who was said to have never lost. The two started fighting in the ring. Here Boyka starts to get overwhelmed because Igor has abilities almost like him. But Boyka didn't give up. He got up again and beat Igor severely. Until finally Boyka succeeded in defeating Igor. Dissatisfied with Boyka's victory, Zaurab finally gave the order to bring Kashmir. Boyka, who felt he had been cheated, couldn't do anything. In the end he was forced to follow Zaurab's wishes. And now we will see the fight between Boyka and Kashmir. A fighter twice the size of an ordinary human. In this fight, it was very difficult for Boyka to beat Kashmir, with the injury he suffered after beating Igor. But Boyka is still the main character of this film. He could easily see Kashmir's weak point because all the movements he made were very slow. So Boyka quickly stole the opportunity to kick him in the head. Zaurab, who again didn't want to see Boyka win, ordered his 2 men to hit Boyka with a baseball bat. And while Boyka was being beaten, Zaurab took all his money and left while holding Alma hostage. Luckily Boyka saw Zaurab's actions, so he felt adrenaline again, so he immediately got up to chase him. After Zaurab threatened several times by putting a gun to Alma's head, Boyka got the opportunity to ambush Zaurab because Alma bit him.
What do you think is gonna happen?
Boyka, who was injured by several of Zaurab's shots, fell helplessly in Alma's lap. At that time, Boyka felt that he had finished paying off all his debts. Because in the end Alma forgave him. The police came to arrest Boyka.
Boyka, you're under arrest.
At the end of the film we will be shown what happened 6 months after Boyka killed Zaurab. Boyka still has to receive punishment because he has killed many people. He is imprisoned in Russia, where Alma comes to visit and thank him. Because what Boyka did has made Alma free from her debts. After meeting Alma, Boyka was brought down to fight again in the prison's underground arena. Everyone shouted his name. He raised his hands and prepared to fight.